Welcome back, episode 2 of the Video Game Therapy complete guide of what to expect for E3 2021. And in this episode, we are talking about Gearbox software. Okay, so the Gearbox software showcase, this is a completely different beast to the Ubisoft showcase. The reason being that Ubisoft is such a big company with so many strings to its bow, and yeah, Gearbox have made other games, like Brothers in Arms, the later Duke Nukem games, Battleborn, but ultimately, when you think of Gearbox games, you really only think of one thing: Borderlands. The thing is though, Borderlands 3 came out in late 2019, and because of the nature of the Borderlands games, there's been an absolute freight train worth of additional content that they've been absolutely hammering to death all through 2020 and even at the start of this year with the next gen upgrades and so on. Do I think it's likely that there'll be some Borderlands 3 news or content at the showcase? Absolutely, but I really don't think that's going to be the main focus of the show. Now that brings us to an interesting crossroads. Are we going to see Gearbox announce a new Borderlands game, or are we going to see Borderlands announce an entirely new game, like a new IP? Well, the answer could likely be both, and just maybe the information that would lead us to such conclusions has been under our noses for weeks now. So starting with the new Borderlands game, is it too soon to announce Borderlands 4? Well, in my opinion, probably. They seem only now to be coming towards the end of their support cycle for Borderlands 3, and that's just a complete guess. There's nothing to say that they are slowing down the support for Borderlands 3, and the way they've supported this game to keep the player numbers high, it just seems counterproductive to me that they would immediately jump to the next one in the series without letting Borderlands 3 come to a more natural end. It's kind of like being in a restaurant and the waiter or waitress bringing you the dessert menu before you've finished eating your main. What's more likely is that we'll see a Borderlands spin-off or adjacent game. Now, about a month ago, there must have been a rumour circulating about that exact thing, although this rumour was speculating that Gearbox were co-developing a spin-off or adjacent game with another development team entirely. I mean, I didn't see or hear of it, but I don't really closely follow Borderlands news. I only came across it when researching for this video. But clearly Randy Pitchford, who is the president of Gearbox Software, did. He tweeted this on the 6th of May. I am told of rumours that Gearbox is assisting or co-developing another Borderlands game or a new spin-off game. These rumours are not accurate. Gearbox is lead dev of any future games in the Borderlands franchise or any Borderlands adjacent games, with no co-development. Now what's interesting here is his flat out denial that any new Borderlands game would be in development by anyone other than Gearbox themselves, and that a co-development project was completely false. Even more interesting though is that whilst strongly denying that a Borderlands spin-off would be a co-development project, Randy clearly leaves out any denial about whether the game exists or not. It's kind of like an overstretch of information, isn't it? Like if a rumour was circulating and its falsehood got under your skin for you to tweet about it, well, you'd just go for the obvious thing, wouldn't you? You'd say, I'm told of rumours that Gearbox is assisting or co-developing a Borderlands spin-off game. Well, it's just not true. The game doesn't exist. But clearly this tweet is centred around the fact that he's butthurt that it's been labelled a co-development project. Almost as if you know people at Gearbox have been working super hard on a certain project and you didn't want people out there thinking that somebody else had been doing the hard work and taking credit for it. Anyway, Randy then followed up that tweet with this one. More, we are definitely working on some amazing stuff that I hope will surprise and delight you. Plug: if anyone out there has the skills to pay the bills and wants to get in on some Borderlands action, we're working on the big one. And then a link to Gearbox Software careers. Now let me just use my special decoding powers on this one. The first bit says, more, we are definitely working on some amazing stuff that I hope will surprise and delight you. Now, would Borderlands 4 surprise and delight us? I mean, sure, it would delight people, but if they announced they were releasing Borderlands 4 as the next game after Borderlands 3, I mean, would that really be a surprise? Like, chronologically, by its very nature, Borderlands 4 coming after Borderlands 3 would be the least surprising thing that I could think of. So for me, what he's saying here is, yes, we do have some Borderlands surprises up our sleeves, aka a spin-off. or an adjacent title. Then he goes on to say, plug, if anyone out there has the skills to pay the bills and wants to get in on some Borderlands action, we are working on the big one. The big one. Does he mean a main franchise game? AKA Borderlands 4. And if you weren't working on smaller Borderlands games that weren't Borderlands 4, then why would you call it the big one? Wouldn't you just call it, I don't know, the next one? Maybe I'm reaching, but I'm sticking to it. So my first prediction for Gearbox is that we're going to be seeing a new Borderlands title announced, and it's going to be either a spin-off or an adjacent title, i.e. not Borderlands 4. Next up though, and this one literally was under our noses plain as day in black and white for weeks now, that is a completely new game from Gearbox Software, a completely new IP, brand new franchise. So you may or may not be aware that Take-Two Interactive is the parent company of both Rockstar and 2K Games, and 2K Games is the parent company of Gearbox Studios. And in Take-Two Interactive's quarterly earnings report that was made public last month, you can find this piece of information regarding Gearbox. 2K will introduce 2 releases from new franchises this year, including one from Gearbox. And further inspection of this document, it seems like they're listing things in like date order. You can see here they talk about Red Dead Redemption stuff in late May, more late May stuff, and then immediately after the Gearbox thing they're talking about stuff that will come late June, but in these 2 announcements roughly in the E3 timeline. So yeah, not much else to say about Gearbox, but those are the 2 things that I think we're definitely going to see at this Gearbox showcase at E3 2021. Certainly some Borderlands content, most likely a spin-off or adjacent title, and almost certainly we are going to be getting a new IP announcement from Gearbox Software. Thanks for watching. Let me know if you think I missed anything down in the comments, like if you enjoyed the video, subscribe if you're new, and check back for episode 3 where we're talking about the big one, Xbox Bethesda.